Hello, today we are talking to Jonnie Cartmill from Sendcloud, which is a shipping solution for e-commerce sellers. Hi, Jonnie. Could you tell us a bit about Sendcloud?
Hey, Trevor. Yes, of course. A pleasure to meet with you, albeit virtually.
Well, the only way we meet these days.
From Eindhoven, exactly. It looks like you've got a nice background there.
That's actually, it's a virtual background. It's a rear window from the Hitchcock film.
Oh, beautiful.
Okay.
Very creative. Yes. So Sendcloud, as you said, it's an all-in-one shipping platform for small to medium-sized e-commerce stores. We're really helping businesses to automate their shipping process from checkout to returns. So I think it's very relevant these days, of course, with the rise of e-commerce and also just how much COVID has accelerated buying online. And yeah, like I think for me, the e-commerce space is relatively new. I've only been in it for the last year and a half. I previously worked in an international company dealing with media intelligence and data analytics. And I think taking that and bringing it across to e-commerce is really interesting because there is so much data that businesses need to be able to use in the e-commerce space to make the best and the most informed decisions.
Yeah, I mean, I find actually getting the right data is because there's so many different channels and stuff, it's quite hard to actually really get to the nub of what is needed.
Correct.
So tell me, with Sendcloud, do you provide your own courier solution or do you just help people integrate other couriers?
Yeah, sure. So we actually integrate with over 50 carriers all over Europe in 8 different countries. So whenever our customers subscribe to our service, they get access to all of that.
Do they have to have their own accounts with the courier, which then integrate, or can you help them organize the accounts?
It can be either or. So some customers will come to us with their own pre-negotiated rates with those carriers, and then they will plug them into Sendcloud. Or they may just be starting up and they could be brand new and they'll use the pre-negotiated rates that we've got with those carriers.
So if I'm an e-commerce trader, which I am,
yes.
Do you? I mean, okay. So if I'm sending something, do I have the opportunity to use all these couriers, and then it would just choose the best one, or does it? Yeah. So I could say, okay, so I've got a parcel which is going to France. I could use one carrier for sending a parcel to France and another one to Germany.
Exactly.
Okay.
It gives you that kind of total customized feel, I suppose. There's many of our customers that could be, I don't know, expanding into new markets where maybe they haven't got the language capabilities or the development capabilities to integrate a carrier directly into their own platform. They would then use us to have access to that immediately.
Okay. So is it just Europe, or can you do? I mean, because from experience, there's certain parts of the world which are quite hard to ship to, right? Yep. For example, South America.
Sure.
My experience with South America is if you're going to send it via, I mean, for example, Royal Mail International Tract, you've got as much chance of it getting there as if you chuck it out the window, right? So do you have specialist couriers integrated specialist couriers in these particular zones?
Yeah, look, we specialize in 8 core markets in Europe, and we partner with carriers in those particular markets. So you've got mostly the top 5 to 8 carriers in each market we will integrate with. And of course, then some of those international carriers will be able to ship your products internationally. Whether or not it will end up at the final destination in South America.
Well, that is so basically you specialize in Europe, but you don't tend to do the specialist like the Air Americas and I don't know, what are the specialist international couriers.
No, yeah, exactly. We focus on 8 core markets
okay.
Yeah, but of course, it can be shipped all over the world.
Yeah, because I know, for example, DPD they'll all have a service all around the world. You can ship to 180 countries with DPD. Okay. So tell me, I mean, how long has Sendcloud been around? What's the history of the company?
Yeah, good question. So 2012, which seems like just a short while ago, but it's almost a decade. Our founders actually were our current ICP, right, our ideal customer profile. So there were three young lads running an e-commerce store in Eindhoven, and they were doing really, really well. Unfortunately, they realized that the most challenging and costly part of the process in their business was the shipping side, Trevor.
Mhm.
So they tried to see if they could figure out a way of getting better rates and to compete with some of the bigger shops that they were up against, and they couldn't find a solution. So they just decided, screw it, we'll go off and do it ourselves. I think they paid a good friend of theirs some beer money to build a piece of code and some software, and it kind of went from there. A couple of weeks later, they had some paying customers, and I think if you fast forward, nearly 10 years later, we got 20,000 customers that are working with our platform on free solutions, but then also on our software subscriptions across 8 markets. So there's been massive growth. And just to put in maybe some more relevant numbers as well, in terms of the volume that we're shipping through the platform, there's over 500,000 shipments being made in a peak day, millions.
Right, okay.
And per month. So yeah, it's really taken off, especially in the last couple of years.
So you're finding, and how have your volumes been going during COVID?
Oh, it's been crazy. I think I joined the company in January last year. It was a bit of a baptism of fire, right? Just really figuring out what was going to happen. I think there was that level of uncertainty when COVID started. Is it going to impact business positively or negatively? I think really with the benefit of a year now, we can see that it accelerated what was already accelerating.
Yeah.
Every day became a Black Friday, so to speak. And I think that puts a lot of pressure, of course, on the carriers themselves, but then also the partners that they partner with.
Yeah, I think carriers hate Black Friday. It's not good for them. It's just,
It's nuts. Yeah. Like every day was Christmas, I think. And on the one hand, that's a mega benefit. That was a mega benefit to e-commerce businesses, to some of them at least. On the other hand, just also a massive challenge, like customer support, a lot of delays in shipments.
Yes, it was pretty. I mean, because my e-commerce business, the sales doubled this time last year. Sales were doubled overnight, pretty much, and we started thinking strange thoughts like, how do we sell less? How do we let's put up the prices so we can sell less.
But did you have any? So I mean, did you have any kind of customer service problems during that time? Were you able to fulfill?
Well, I think, I mean, a lot of stuff got delayed, if you call that a customer service problem. So a lot of things weren't getting delivered, and so yes, I think. I mean, but then platforms like Amazon are the ones who have the metrics that you have to meet. They basically turned off their feedback systems for like 3 months, so it was less of an issue.
Right.
But the things were, there was. I mean, I think the problem was a lot of things that would normally get delivered weren't getting delivered, and there's presumably just these piles of mail, and they just take months to get through. So it's a bit like when you have like a mail strike or something. The mail just builds up, and it'll take a day or two of strike can create disruption that lasts for weeks. 100%. And I think we're just about. Yeah, I mean, I think at the moment there's still disruption at the moment. I mean, there was before Christmas, there was the issue with the Kent variant of this lovely COVID thing, and that meant that the carrier stopped picking up the mail for to go to the EU for a period of days, and that caused disruption for several weeks afterwards.
Okay.
And it was things like that happen all the time. It's quite. I mean, then we get things like then Brexit happened, obviously, and that was had some unexpected consequences. Like, for example, so now everything that goes into Europe has to go into EU has to go through customs, right?
Yep.
To January, and that meant that we in my retail business we send some stuff out on like the 29th of December, thinking, oh, that's fine, it's before the 1st. But we didn't think, and I don't know why we didn't think this. We didn't think, wait a minute, it's going to get to the EU after New Year, and therefore there'll be this duty to pay. We didn't think of that. We just thought, oh, we're sending it before the 1st. It'll be easy.
I don't think anybody thought of that, so don't worry.
And then so it all got sent back, and we're like, and in retrospect, that was obvious, but I don't know.
So many things converging at the same time, right? Brexit, COVID, Christmas time, New Year. Yeah, I think you're not alone. We certainly saw that with our customers as well, right? Like, quite a lot of confusion.
And a half. Tell me what's so obviously with couriers you have the opportunity, you know, systems like Linnworks, for example, have native integrations with couriers. What is the benefit of using a system like Sendcloud over doing it directly in Linnworks?
Yeah, like I think we partner with many. We partner with our partner management team have got and designed, I think, 80 plus integrations across, you know, WMS, ERP, marketplaces, web shop systems, the full shebang, and of course the carriers themselves. I think the benefit for customers working with us is that they don't necessarily need to go through the time, the hassle, the expense of having to integrate carriers directly.
Well, yeah, but something like Linnworks, right? They have they've already done the integration, so it's just a question of plugging in the courier details.
Yeah.
So you can do it directly from Linnworks.
Yeah, sure. I think it's more just the ease, really.
Okay.
You know, working with Sendcloud, you've got access to a full library of integrations there. So it could be Linnworks, it could be any other tool that you need for your business.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, for the customers that we work with, you quite often see that they've got demands that go beyond one integration. They might want to have multiple. They might want to have more choice.
Yeah.
Especially for their end consumers. So I think, you know, specifically on the carrier side, traditionally businesses used one carrier. I think today and going forward, giving the end consumer choice in the carrier that they want to be able to use to be able to deliver packages at a time that they want and in a way that they want, it just becomes phenomenally advantageous. So it's not just about adding value to the shipper, it's about adding value to that end consumer. And I think the demand of the end consumer is really dictating what e-commerce stores at least are needing to do.
Yeah, I'd be surprised because I think with things like, in the same way as platforms like Linnworks and Vico don't have their own website solutions anymore, they just say, okay, go to Shopify, go to Magento. I wouldn't be surprised if they stopped doing their own native courier integrations. Because systems like Sendcloud and your competitors, they aren't expensive, and
the legwork is already done.
And the legwork's already done, and I wouldn't be at all surprised if they say, okay, you just make a deal. Why with them? They have to support all these things, or they can just go with you guys.
Well, exactly, and it's not. Yeah, and that's a main point. It's not just building it; it's the maintenance.
Yeah,
we've got us and other companies in the same environment. We've got big development teams that are working on this day in, day out, so I think the simplicity, the flexibility, the convenience, and the cost are all kind of key factors for it, really. But I also think COVID, again, just to go back to that topic, one of the things that we saw, Trevor, is that some of the carriers were just being completely overwhelmed. They were unable to fulfill the orders that were coming through. They couldn't deliver them. And I think what happens to you then as an e-commerce store if the one carrier that you're working with is unable to bring that package to the end consumer? It doesn't look so good.
No,
you're not benefiting the customer at the end of the day. And I think to mitigate that risk and to have choice of being able to switch over quite quickly with a click of a button, that becomes phenomenally advantageous. So we really saw that, and I think that was the feedback that we got from many of our customers.
Yeah, and I do find, it is difficult, as in, you do all the things as e-commerce merchant. You try and do everything right, and you send it with a courier, and the courier loses it, and you think, oh, what can I do?
It can be really challenging, yeah. And I think maybe as well, I was chatting to a customer of ours a couple of weeks ago, expanding into a new market, actually the UK. Some of the challenges around that with Brexit, etc., but they've had this on the roadmap for a while. And one of the things that they said to me was, working with a company like Sendcloud or whatever else is available in the market, it just enables us to do things really quickly without the cost and the hassle. We can enter a new market. We can use the work that you've already done to help us to get there. And if we decide then, if business goes well, and if we decide to go and kind of negotiate a rate with a local carrier directly and then plug that into your platform, then we will do that when the time is right. But to get us started, it's a perfect opportunity.
Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So talking about Brexit, how have you how's Brexit been for you guys?
Oh, crazy. Like, I think on a business level, we have launched into the UK during this period,
Yay.
which has been mega interesting, mega relevant. I think for everybody, it's been challenging. We're finding that most of our customers or prospective customers, they just want to understand what's going on. Like, people are trying to make sense of what Brexit means when it comes to shipping and the carrier landscape.
Yeah, the carriers don't really seem to know themselves, I think.
Well, that's the difficulty, right? So they don't necessarily know what's going on themselves. And I think there's just a lot of confusion, right? So one of the things that we've at least tried to do is to create a really strong Brexit guide. Same thing as our competitors have done in the UK, but just to share that knowledge and information as we've got it. But I would say at the moment, a lot of confusion. It's quite challenging. It's very difficult for UK companies to ship internationally.
We found it quite hard to do because basically there's quite a lot of kind of jargon going on. Like, who's the importer of record, and these things are quite important when it comes to doing tax. And you end up talking to the sales guy in the courier company, and they don't know. And so just working out, you've got I had my accountant, I had my international VAT provider, and I had the courier, and they all told me different things. So it's like, what am I supposed to do? Oh, and the courier, they were like, well, we do it, just.
I think we're all trying to make sense of it. Look, I don't think we have hard and fast answers of exactly how it's going to be, but I think certainly the conversations that we're having every day with people, we're learning together. So
do you think that how are the volumes, between the Europe and EU and the UK? Have they been affected?
Massively. They've slowed down a lot.
Yeah.
So
both ways, or
yes, definitely. Certainly coming from the UK out, but both ways. And I think the customers we work with in the UK at the moment, Trevor, are focusing on domestic shipments. That's really.
But do you think it's an opportunity for those people that are left that actually worked it out to do you think, are they doing as well as they used to, or?
Yeah, like where there's a challenge, there's an opportunity. I think in any walk of life. Like I was chatting to some of the guys in my team yesterday, and some of the more forward thinking, or maybe the larger businesses that really rely on being able to distribute and sell cross border outside of the UK into the EU. They're now setting up shop in various EU markets as well, so that they can fulfill that need. That creates more complexity, more cost, more time, but it's what's needed at the moment. Aside from that, I think that's what we've seen.
Mm-hmm. So I've got a question for you. So something I've always struggled with is, you've got when you're shipping internationally, right? I'm always looking for the right way of doing things, right? Is there a perfect answer? And with international shipping, you can use a cheap service like airmail, which is untracked, but is probably gets there most of the time, almost all the time, right? But occasionally you'll have the odd parcel delayed or lost, and then you can use a track service, which is much more expensive, but at least you can give a tracking number to the customer, but you'll probably sell less because the shipping's more expensive.
Sure.
Now, I'm expecting you to know the right answer to this question. What is the best way of doing this?
Look, it depends on the customer, man. I think people are very price sensitive these days, but they're also expecting to receive the best service and the quickest service that you can imagine. So we had a fun quiz on this actually with our team at a virtual sales summit last week. Spending more money and making sure that it gets there means that your customer's happy, but the customer needs to pay for it. I think it's creating an opportunity for the customer to decide, Trevor.
Yeah.
That's what we do, at least, having multiple shipping options available to you at a checkout, that puts the control in the hand of the customer. So
Yeah.
the way that you look at it as a buyer may be very different to the way that I do.
Well, it's difficult. I mean, things like, on the website, that's quite easy because you're in control of the shipping options you offer. Whereas something like Amazon, you can do, you've basically got one shipping option per country. Or,
Yep.
Well, what you really want is you want a slow, like into the EU, you want a slow untracked version and a slow tracked version. Whereas what all you've got, you can have a slow untracked version or an express version. Express, yep. And there are no express. Apart from FedEx, there's no kind of express services between the UK and Europe. Not like next day is what I'm talking about.
Sure.
And so they don't really let you set that up, which is a bit of a pity.
But that's why people work with companies like us. They have that choice.
Mm-hmm. So you've got there's an express service between the UK and
it gives them greater choice. Look, I think multiple carrier options at a checkout by default just puts the power in the consumer's hands. Like, they get to choose what it is that they want.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's going to become even more prevalent as we go forward. Innovation in the carrier landscape as well. Think about it, like, people are so much more environmentally and sustainably focused these days. So they're demanding that, and they're at least wishing for better options when it comes to that. If you look at the Netherlands, which is where I'm sitting today, everybody rides a bike.
I could love it.
They're very, very green. You've got electric bicycles everywhere, and you see the local market here and the consumers wanting to make sure that they're receiving their packages in a green, environmentally sustainable way.
Mm-hmm.
I was chatting to a partner of ours, an Israeli company, in the office visiting us for the last couple of days, who were talking about drones. During COVID, Israel were one of the fastest countries in the world, of course, to be fully vaccinated. They were
Mm-hmm.
sending vaccinations on pharmaceuticals with drones. Take a look at manufacturers of vehicles these days, with everything being self-driving, autonomous. I think all of this is playing a part in satisfying end consumers' needs.
Mm-hmm.
The way that the carriers, the way that companies like Sendcloud that connect to all of these carriers and all of these and integrate with all of these systems need to look at it is, what are people going to demand? What do they want?
Mm-hmm.
And how can we be more forward thinking than anybody else? Uber, right? Uber, taxi hailing companies, food delivery companies. I think everything is being delivered within a moment. When your driver is 2 minutes away, is 1 minute away, you're able to contact them directly. And I think exactly the same thing is going to be happening in the e-commerce space when it comes to shipping. People will demand it. So it's an interesting moment in time that we're in. And I think COVID has accelerated all of this dramatically.
Yeah.
It's not just the younger demographic that are kind of early adopters and using technologies in this way. Everybody has been forced to. I'm fortunate enough to still have grandparents, at 90, 92 years old. They've been using this type of stuff. They've been buying online, and they're having conversations with me in a way that we would never have discussed even a couple of years ago. So I find it really, really interesting. It's very, very relevant.
Yeah, I think I think you're right. I mean, it's interesting at the moment. Amazon, because we sell a lot of stuff on Amazon, they're ramping up their requirements. You're going to have to start delivering stuff on a Saturday. They're just always just upping the ante in terms of the customer service, and that will then, that's basically what other people have to, people who sell for their own websites have to eventually follow.
You absolutely have to. But look at it. COVID is a moment in time that is changing so much, and I think what was it that was going around LinkedIn recently? I think who was to blame, or who was to who was to blame for your digital transformation? Was it your CEO, your CTO, or was it COVID-19? I think it's done the same thing in the shipping e-commerce space. If you take a look at Blockbuster back in the day, right? Remember we used to rent videos.
It is extraordinary to think that we used to go and pick them up.
Can you believe that? Yeah, I was chatting about that with my wife the other day. Can you even imagine putting a tape or a DVD into your TV anymore? Like Netflix completely changed that, and I think they did because they understood what the consumer needed. Kodak and Instagram, like Instagram or Kodak did not listen to what their customers were saying. They wanted things to be digital. Instagram came in and completely revolutionized the way that people took photos and shared things.
Yeah.
I think what did these guys do? What was the key factor here? They listened to what their consumers wanted. They understood the data. They could see uptake in consumer behavior, and then they made a decision and off they went, and they succeeded. And these market-leading companies, they fell flat on their face overnight. And I think it is phenomenally important for all of us, whether you're running your own online shop or whether you're a company like Sendcloud or Amazon, to stay one step ahead of the game and to continuously think, what is it that end consumer needs? And it's going to be a win-win.
I'm so old that I remember getting Computer Games magazine and typing out the computer games.
Oh, really?
And it's just extraordinary. Did I even do that? I know that time, I know you've only got a minute or two left. So I just want to ask you, last question. What has inspired you recently?
Oh, man, look, that's a good one. I think for anybody that knows me, I get inspired quite easily by a lot of stuff.
You're cheap, are you?
Yeah, I'm a sportsman at heart, right? So we could talk about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer trying to turn around Man United, or
right, okay,
or maybe not the Irish rugby team in the recent Six Nations, but anyway, like I think, relating this to Sendcloud, right, and the environment that I'm in at the moment, and I think the opportunities, but the challenges that we've had in the last couple of years. I joined here in 2020 in January, so only less than a year and a half ago. There were 100 people in the team. There are 300 people now.
Right, okay.
We're onboarding, 20, 30 people a month, and I think to be able to do that in a remote working environment, it's really, really challenging. But one of the things that this company does phenomenally well, in my opinion, is that it lives and breathes its core cultural values, which is no bullshit, grow and win, and have fun. And the no BS part, we recently launched a company-wide cultural manifesto. So our CEO did this last week, and I thought it was brilliant. It's kind of our version of how we think things should be done. It's been inspired by Reed Hastings, who's the CEO of Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
If you haven't read the No Rules book, you should read that.
Okay.
It talks all about freedom and responsibility and the importance of candid feedback. And so we live and breathe that. But I ran a session with my team a week ago, and it was a quarterly review. And in that review, we give each other feedback. And I think quite often when you're sitting in a team, you may not actually give your leader, your boss, or your team the type of feedback that you would expect because maybe you're afraid. We have created a really, really good environment where people have got the confidence to be able to do that. And I walked out of that meeting inspired because I was given feedback from 8 or 9 people, Trevor, in an open room that was constructive. It was forward thinking. And I sat down that evening. It gives me goosebumps. I sat down that evening and I made a sort of consolidation of the feedback, and I presented it to the full global sales team, around about 80 people the next week in our summit, just to let them know it doesn't matter how entry level you are in your new role, how young you are, or maybe how senior you may be. Everybody has got something to learn. Everybody can move. And
that's good. I like that.
For me, that's inspired me quite a lot. So yeah.
I'll tell you what's inspired me as a sport, because you said you're a sportsman. I watched Ted Lasso on Apple Plus.
Right.
I don't know. It was corny, and it was all about football. It's all about this American football coach who goes to take over a UK football team. Right. It's corny, but the main character is so relentlessly positive and just believes in everyone all the time that I came out, I felt transformed.
Yes.
So no, really, honestly, it was the most. I just got on my wall behind you. You can't see it. I've got a little poster which says "Be like Ted." I just need to remind myself to be as positive as he is. So watch it.
Yeah, man. Listen, emotions are contagious. We're smiling together over it.
That's true.
I think when I'm interviewing candidates, actually, I always smile to see if I can get that kind of positive non-verbal feedback. But I think emotions are contagious. I think positivity goes a long way, and I like that as well. That's really cool.
Excellent.
Good job.
Well,
Listen,
look, it's been great speaking to you, and maybe we can catch up again in a few months.
I would absolutely love to. Trevor, thanks so much, mate.
Okay, cheers. Bye bye.
Bye. All the best.